Hey mages, welcome to today's video, and today I've got 5 new 0 rare decks for you, all accompanied with a couple of upgrade suggestions as well. So if you are a new player, beginner player, have come in with the new set through the Omenpaths, or if you're a budget player, then this is the deck for some videos for you. And obviously the channel, because we do a lot of this type of content on here. So just get this out of the way early. If you do enjoy the content, make sure to give it a like and subscribe. But now we're going to get on to these 5 decks today. The deck list will all be down below, but stay with me as I talk through the decks and how they play. And then obviously, like I said, potential upgrades. But let's get on to the first deck. So the first 0 rare deck that I put together was an Azorius, which is blue-white, no block. So this is about creatures that can't be blocked type of deck. It also has like a sub-theme of detectives, because one of the new cards that came from through the Omenpaths was Double Strike Margot. So this is a human detective hero, and Private Eye works very well with that. So because there was a couple of detectives that I could put in, I didn't feel like this was bad to have like this kind of sub-theme in there, and giving this an extra bit of power is always going to be good because it has Double Strike. But we have other ways to do that as well, because we have some kind of enchantment package going on as well. So lots going on with this fun deck. So we have a look at the stats first of all. We've got 16 creatures, a couple of instants, couple of sorceries, 18 enchantments. So 16 auras in this deck, 22 lands with a CMC average of 1.9 in this one. So this is not your average blue-white control deck. This is more about creatures and getting through, so more of an enchantment type of deck, which is also, you know, always fun to do. Good card, which obviously revolves around enchantments, is Ethereal Armor. This is a way to get our unblockable creatures pumped up. So as you saw, we have a lot of enchantment auras in there. This gives +1/+1 for each of them, gives them first strike. But when you're putting that on to a creature that can't be blocked, that makes them really, really good, and obviously makes them game-winning creatures as well. So we do have a few of these in here. Margot, like I spoke about, if we can get this massive, it can sometimes be an alpha strike, like a one smash win. And it really can, because you can build these up with lots of different enchantments that we have in a deck. We've got the rescue in here. We can flash this in and give one of our protection to our creatures, giving it hexproof, and then it gets +1/1. Other ones, Feather of Flight, we can give it flying, draw a card, bit of card draw with this, which is really nice. I'm trying to use the card draw outside of instants and everything like that. I try to use it in this kind of, medium, which goes on well with synergy to the deck as well. And of course, you add in the best enchantment removal in the game for me, which is Sheltered by Ghosts. So this can give our unblockable creature lifelink and ward 2 as well. So we have plenty of ways to protect these creatures from going in and attacking. Now, this card, Enter the Enigma. We do have some creatures like Novice Inspector, that is a detective, so this can get plus, which is why I said I've got the sub-detective theme. This isn't unblockable. We do have the Into the Enigma here that can make it unblockable that turn, and then we get a draw a card. So we do have other creatures that we can build up as well, which is nice. Now, Shoreline Looter can't be blocked. Obviously, 1/1, when this creature deals combat damage to player, draw a card, then you discard a card unless you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard. So just a good 2-mana creature that can't be blocked, which is what obviously the theme of the deck is. Now, Private Eye, like I said, for the sub-theme and for getting some, +1/1s in there, we can draw extra cards. So whenever we draw a second card each turn, a detective can't be blocked. So that could work well with the Inspector again, and obviously with our other ones, other creature as well, which is Margot, which is obviously there, but this is really in there just to give the pump up for the detectives, and especially for Margot. And with Novice Inspector coming in, we got the ability to draw a second card with that as well. I just thought that, on theme was pretty decent. Now, a couple of this enchantment, Surgical Suite. When you unlock this card, we get to return target card with mana 3 or less. So with the amount of removal in Standard, the idea of this going in there was we'd be able to bring back one of our creatures like Margot, something that's going to be decent that can't be blocked, that potentially could be killed, and that we haven't managed to protect it with like a restoration magic here. Or we haven't managed to put the rescue on. So it gives us a little bit of recursion in the deck as well to get back some of these creatures to hopefully get on there and win the game and build up the enchantment. So it is an aura-themed detective can't be blocked deck, and it was really fun to build, and I think it'd be really fun for you to play as well. Take all these decks, take them to your dailies, take them to the ranked and see if you can build them up. And then I've got cards that we can play from the sideboard. Well, it's not a sideboard, it's in the sideboard, that I feel like would be good to upgrade this deck. Like I said, we're going to do this for all of them. So Authority of Council is good for having the creatures coming in tapped. Now, this is a good card to come in. It's good against aggro decks, very good against them. You have to look at, what you want to be taken out for this. So for me, with that, you're probably taking out your Surgical Suite. Or you can sort of test this out. Restoration Magic might be one that you bring out as well, because you still got the protection with Rescue. But this, I feel like, is a good piece of, good card to come in. Get Lost and any number of them. Really good premium removal. And then you're looking at one creature that can be upgraded for me, which you're probably taking out, one of these. Can't be blocked, one of the can't be blocked creatures. Now, this one is good, but what it is annoying against is when you come against this graveyard decks. But the can't be blocked creatures were very limited when you're doing in just commons and uncommons for decks. So looking in for Silent Hall Creeper is probably one that can come in for the veteran. This has various different abilities as well. Draw a card, counters on the creatures, comes a copy of another creature as well. But the all important, this creature can't be blocked. And another card that I thought of was this Cryptic Coat. This artifact enters, cloak the top card of your library, then attach it, and then the equipped creature gets +1/+0 and can't be blocked as well. And you can also return this to owner's hand to keep it and play again. So that one was just an afterthought that I did see, but obviously does work on theme with the deck. But the two cards when you're upgrading I really would like to see coming in would be Silent and the Authority. But let's get on to the second deck. Oh, one thing I will say before we get on to the second deck, I'm not going to just every deck just have the upgrades of lands. Lands will be upgraded. They will just make every single... That'll be the first thing you do before adding in any of these. If you can upgrade to any of the rare lands or the colours chosen in the decks, it is just going to make the decks better. So I'm not going to mention it in every deck, but that is the first thing that you would definitely upgrade. Now, I wanted to utilise some of the new mechanics and some of the, obviously, the returning mechanics that we have. And this is a 0 rare Mayhem deck, a Rakdos Mayhem deck. So Mayhem is, you may cast this card from your graveyard for the mana of the Mayhem, whatever the mana costs, if you discarded it this turn. So your ways of cast this is discarding this card, and then if you've got the mana, you get to play it again, which is really, really cool. So you've got draw and discard and stuff like that. And what works well with that is the card that is from the previous set, Marauding Mako. Now this, whenever you discard one or more cards, you put that many 1/1 counters on it. So it's a great card and works very well with the Mayhem ability. So, it's a straight in smash for me as well. So Skittering Kitten is a way to discard a card, you sack the creature and draw a card. So this works so well with Mayhem and perhaps getting on a better card. So you've got this 1/1 that comes down turn 1, you're attacking, doing the haste, and then later on you can discard a card. So discard any of the cards with Mayhem, play them again, but then you get to draw a card as well. So a very good thematic card that works very well with the Mayhem decks, because it's got the discard, which is what this deck needs to be able to get to play these in a single turn, which I feel is pretty fun. Now the stats on this, we've got a few more creatures, 22. 3 instants and 11 sorcery, so a slightly slower build with a 2.6 average, so we're going for the 24 lands in this one as well. Now, this obviously is a new mechanic type of deck. Whether how powerful it will become, this is definitely, I wanted to just not do the same mono black 0 rares, mono red 0 rare every set, because I feel like this one has a lot of different mechanics, so this new set. So I feel like doing these different decks, you might not have all the rare cards for all of them straight away, but if something takes your fancy and you've got majority of the cards for a deck, and you've bought packs for this one, you built up your thing, maybe you've done some drafts and got loads of commons and uncommons, and you've just picked up some of these in those sort of events, these are the decks then you can put together and have something a little bit more competitive, which is what these decks are. So Goblins, another one with Mayhem. This is a good one. This can cost 3 mana potentially. Come down as a 5/4 with haste. Really, really sweet. We've then got Wekdu Midnight Hunter. Flash flying. The Mayhem on this one is just a single black mana. So discarding this and then getting a 2/2 flyer straight in. Very, very sweet. We've also then got cards that do, not just creatures. We've got spells as well. So Deathflame Burst. Mayhem 2. You got to remember with this new type of mechanic Mayhem though, is that the timing rules still apply. So this is a sorcery, so you can't cast it later on at instant speed. It has to be cast as a sorcery would be cast. That's definitely a tip. Don't get confused that you could just play this in the middle of a turn. This does 4 damage to target creature. That will hit a lot of creatures as well. We've also got Knife Trick, another way to discard cards when you cast a spell. But Sorcery, again, you know, there's a lot of sorceries in this one, which does sort of slow the deck a little bit. You've got to do a lot of it in your turn. So, but, you know, you have to, you know, I wanted to build it on theme deck, and that's what we got to play with at the moment. So this will do 3 damage to any target for 1 mana, but you can also pay 3 mana, which is obviously way above. But the idea of this is to use it for the discard, so then you can then play one of your other spells like Kivney for 1 mana. Enters, may discard a card. If you do, put a 1/1 counter it. You discard again. You then go and play your 2 mana. You see the idea of this deck. Now, this is a deck that will be tricky to learn, maybe for brand new players, but I do feel like it's a deck that you're going to have a lot of fun with. It's very synergistic, and it's just a lot of fun to play. And when it goes off, it's really cool. So we look at upgrades for this one. There's an enchantment that I looked at, which was Quint Insight, because at the beginning of your main phase, you discard a card drop, which always gives you that option then that you're always going to be discarding. So I feel like this is going to, you know, be a good one that will come into the deck and, you know, possibly give this a go. Maybe taking cards out like Prison Break for this sort of thing. You know, it's a good Mayhem card, but expensive for mana. But, you know, some of these other cards are more powerful. You could potentially cut the Miasmatic Mist because, like, again, an expensive Mayhem, but when we're playing with no rares, we don't have a lot to play with, and this is still a very good, you know, very good card that could be played for 3 mana. Doesn't have to be paid for the Mayhem, and could potentially clear some early creatures in aggro decks like Mono White and stuff like that, Mono Red. Terza is one that I feel like is a definite include. Just a straight upgrade to some creatures here. 3/3 with haste, enters, discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards, so you're discarding and drawing as well. So you'll be able to, you know, late game get a Mayhem creature in, potentially 2 creatures for that 3 and potentially 2 mana like this one, 5 mana getting this in, or maybe, you know, you're paying that and paying the 1 mana. And then you've still got a 3/3 attacking with haste as well. There's a couple more. Ruzik, but if you upkick, discard a card, so another way to constantly discard card, which I feel is good. And maybe Knife Trick is one that has to make room for these because of the sorcery speed on these to get these in there. You still got good removal, like Shoot the Sheriff that could be in there, and maybe you could swap around and possibly bring in some single mana. I'm trying to think of the red mana instant that does 2 damage and potential 3 that you could bring in. My memory for cards is getting terrible recently. It's getting old. That's what it is. Then you got Desecrex. So Mayhem on this one is really sweet. It's only 2. So as you can see, you get with the rares, you're going to get more power and slightly better creatures. So you're basically just swapping over for the creatures that potentially you feel like when you've played the deck have not done quite as well. And until I get more, you know, a lot more practice in there, I wouldn't know which ones, you know, I can give you ideas of which ones to swap, but, you know, they might work really well for you. You go, that's a crazy swap. It's done so much work for me. So you have to put a lot of time into, you know, playing the games and practice. This is just one of the lands I feel like. Now, I said I wasn't going to mention lands because we're going to talk, you put your Rakdos land in, but this is a different type of land. This is a new land. Enters from a graveyard, you lose 2 life. It has Mayhem as well, so you may play this card from your graveyard if it's if we discarded it. So you discard it, then you get to play a land, and you know the Mayhem is just playing the land, which is really, really strong. So, you know, with the colours of Rakdos being 2 of the colours there, also gives you the potential of adding blue if you needed it. But it's got the Rakdos colours, and I feel like this is a good upgrade for the rare lands. But let's get on to the next deck. That was Mayhem. We now got Gruul, Big 4. So Big 4, what's it all about? Creatures with power 4 or greater. So we're building around that sort of theme. Because we get a few new cards that do really well in this theme now. I say a few, you know, there's quite a few. So let's look at the one in the middle first of all. So Restless Razorkin with really crazy art there. Whenever you cast a spell mana of value 4 or greater, you may exile the top card if you do play it. So super strong, but it's the 3/3 with Trample that's nice as well. It's non-legendary, which is really sweet as well, because a lot of the new cards from the new sets are legendary. And it makes it harder when you're, you know, building budget decks because you need some in there, but you can't have multiples on the field, obviously. So it does make it a little bit harder. But I feel like this is a deck that could be, you know, could be going somewhere because Gruul aggro is pretty good and you've got some real big, powerful cards when you go to the upgrades especially. But this deck is about building strong creatures and also with random encounter. The card from Final Fantasy. So this is shuffle your library, then mill 4 cards, but each creature card mill this way, they get haste. So if you can get some of your massive creatures onto the battlefield, like Exegol, Vigilance, Trample, Haste, coming in there, big 6/7, Stormkeld Vanguard. I like this because this can be smashed in, and then the creature can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. So not going to stick a little token in front of it, and also has the ability of bear down, so we can destroy artifacts or enchantments as well. The 4/4 that I spoke here about, Sure Shot, Reach, Beer Protection, War 2, beginning of combat turn, other creatures you control with power 4 greater, they gain Trample and Haste as well. So another way to build them in. Now, in the uncommon and common stage, there is other cards that you can bring in, but this for me is really built up about what you can upgrade with this deck as well to make it even more powerful. We have a slight ramp package here. We got Bushwhacks that can be used for fight. There's Burst Lightning. That's what I was thinking of in the last deck. Llanowar Elves as well. We've then got Lurking Lizards and Galvanized Workforce, both from the new set and both revolve around this value 4 or greater. Now, it does seem like, we haven't got a lot at the top end, but we still got, a fair amount of creatures that can come in. We got 3 cactuses, we got a couple of these and a couple of these, because you do need to be able to get there and then hopefully finish off with these big creatures. Now, these coming in with Encounter are still great. The 3/3 Tramples, the Archivist, which is a 3/3 and then has other abilities as well. But I still feel like this is enough creatures at the top end to be able to deal with it. If you have a look at the total, it's 27 in total. But we need to get to this big 6 mana, and we need 8 mana for the flashback. We need to get to these as well if we can't slightly cheat into play as well. And even these little creatures, the 2/2s, 1/2 that can potentially Ruby become a 3/4, which that can become bigger as well. We've still got a fair amount of power as well in the lower end of the echelon, which is okay with this deck. Land base, this one will need to be upgraded, but the other land I am going to talk about is Raceway, because max speed, discard, draw a card, gives us a little bit of potential card draw. We should be able to get max speed when we're attacking him with this one. Hopefully pretty easy. Now, like I said, this is probably one that benefits from the sideboard a lot, because when you look at some of the creatures in common and uncommon, big creatures are going to cause a lot of damage. There's a few nice ones, but they don't do much. There are a lot of vanilla creatures, but you go to these sort of creatures that you can bring in, like Vaultborn Tyrant, 6/6 with Trample. When this creature or another creature you control a power 4 greater, and you gain 3 life, draw a card. When it dies, you create a token copy of it as well. So it's just really cool, and it's just a straight upgrade to what we've got. Also, Overlord of the Boiler Bilges. 4 damage to any target comes in. It's a big 5/5. We can impend it a bit earlier because we can ramp out, potentially get this out turn 3. And Overlord of the Hauntwoods is just great for an early bit of ramp. Better ramp than some of the creatures that we do have. So you could potentially take out your Leyline or something like that, or maybe your Ruby you want to get rid of, because then you're adding this as the ramp first of all for the impending, and then you're going to bring in a massive 6/5. Other ways to better ramp, you've got Lumbering Whirlwagon that can be a massive creature as well. Herd High Bloom, which works around power 4 greaters and helps draw cards. So, there's definitely upgrades in this one that can make this deck a whole lot better. And when you bring in those bigger creatures, Smuggler's Surprise. Putting this in for the spree cost, 2 creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield, just seems pretty sweet when you've got those massive ones in there. And then creatures you control with power 4 greater gain Hexproof and Indestructible. So then for 2 mana, it will give you a protection against those wraths. Anything that's looking to sweep up, you can then have a bit of protection. So there's some really good upgrades for this deck, and I feel like this deck is good. It works along, you get the power going through, but I feel like this is definitely one that works it becomes very more powerful with the upgrades. 2 more decks to go, and now we've got a villain deck. So villains are naughty, they are very good, they have lots of good mechanics and everything like that, and this also has a bit of a connive side theme as well, but mainly based around villains. As you can see, we've got 28 villains in this deck, 8 instants, 4 artifacts, 24 lands, TMC of 2.8, which is the average spell cost of this. So villain is one of the new creators that are coming in there, one of these new types that we can build a deck around. And it works very well. As you can see, the curve is great on this. We have lots of different villains that we can put in there. We don't have any 1-drops in this, which is very interesting. Was there one in the sideboard? No, there wasn't one in the sideboard. So we start off turn 2 with this deck. So tiny bit slower, but still very, very good. So Vision comes in. attacks, mill a card. So we get ready to do that. We've also then got Vex bots. Whenever another villain you control in, just put a 1/1 counter on this creature. So these have flying and evasion as well, which is a nice way to get over the top of all those little tokens and red decks and white decks that can't stop the flying happening, and these will generally just build up. We then got Mob Lookout. When this enters, target creature you control connive. So connive is draw a card, discard a card. If you discard a non-land card, you get to put a 1/1 counter. So the idea of this is conniving these villains and making them a lot bigger into a very good aggro deck that maybe starts off with small power, but then eventually gets bigger. That is the idea of this deck. Now, lots of new cards in this because all the villains are there. The Obscura, this is flash. When it attacks, you get to connive. So more, draw, discard, finding what you want, building creatures up. Nil, target villain card, you can return it when this comes in. So anything dies, you bring it back. And this is also a reducer. So villain spells cost 1 less to cast, which helps us when we get to our more expensive spells a little bit later. Carlo, whenever another villain you control, it connives. So it's a 2/3 with menace. As you can see, these villains have some really good abilities, and the amount of connive that is in there is enough to build a deck that you can get a consistent aggro tribal deck and then build them up and start attacking. And I feel like this one could slightly be competitive, you know. I really do think it is because it's got the synergy for it. Another flyer, a 3/3, and then you've got Turl as well, flying, vigilance, lifelink. So this is a 3/1 for 4. Pay to exile this card from your graveyard, look at the top 3 cards, put 1 in your hand. So has abilities when it goes to the graveyard as well, so it can be discarded if it needs be, and then you can obviously use it from the graveyard as well. 2 more to talk about, 2 more creatures. Ozor, love this card. So it's a 4/5 that could potentially become an 8/8, and as long as you control another villain, it has hexproof as well. So for a common card, this is an absolute beater potentially. It works well with our type of deck, and it just becomes a massive. I mean, it will just become an 8/8, but 8/8 with hexproof that hopefully we'll be able to get through. If we got a bit of removal with Shoot the Sheriff. It possibly may need more, but I felt like we needed a lot of creatures and sort of recurring creatures to be, to come back. Kind of, if we get lots of removal, we still got a plenty, amount in the arsenal to actually fill the board again. Tethex, this one has Death Touch 4/5, and another one that has ability of stuff from the graveyard. So works well with Canard because draw, discard, and then if these do get discarded, we still have stuff that we can do in the graveyard as well. So yet another very thematic deck, and I feel like this one's got a bit of legs. I've played this one, a couple of times, and I enjoyed it. And once you get a more consistent land base, it just becomes, better. Other card to talk about was from the new set was this one. Target player draws a card, then up to 1 target creature you control connive. So clearly there's going to be a slightly better card drawing aspects out there, but this one, because it connives as well, just works so much better, which gives you, the connive ability as well. Now, upgrading, few cards that can come in. Watcher on the Road. So when this enters, you create a 3/3 villain as well, so you get a couple of villains in there. And then you create a 3/3 blue vision. I can't speak today. You create a 3/3 blue illusion villain creature token for each non-token villain you control. That is just amazing. Smash this one straight into the deck. But then tokens do get to be exiled when this leaves the battlefield. So if it does get killed, you lose them all. But it's just such a good card. I just feel like it'd be brilliant coming in. I thought about, like I said, not much removal in this deck, so we could bring in Villainous Wrath. Target opponent loses life equals the number of creatures they control, then destroy all creatures. I feel like this one is just very thematic, and it'd be really good to go into the deck, and it gives us a bit of much needed life gain that we potentially could need. Couple more creatures. Wrench. This one's a 2/3. Look at the top 9 cards of opponent's library face down. And then you may play those exile cards. Mana may be spent of any colour to cast the spells this way. So, interesting card. 5 mana, 2/3. It was just one that I wanted to mention. Not too sure if I'd bring that one in, but it's just, for a 2/3, 5 mana, it seems quite a lot. But we might be able to, connive it up. But Lewis, I think, is a good creature to bring in. This is a 2/1 with lifelink, but enters with X 1/1 counter, so it can be bigger. When it enters, it deals X damage to target opponent. I feel like this is just a smashing 2-drop card to come in, and this has to find a place into the deck if you want to upgrade it, because it gives that all-important lifelink. can be bigger as well. It's not going to be a 2-1. You can play it early just for 1x and enter it with 1, so it could be a 3-2 for 3. But, you know, as it goes later in the game, this is just going to become massive as well. And it deals X damage as well. So it can potentially just be a winning card on its own. So this will be definitely the first card that we upgrade to the deck. But let's get on to the last deck. So the last deck we have is a Spider Counters deck. A couple of cards that are being used in this one. Again, Margot. Margot's just a great uncommon for use. The double strike and can't be blocked. It's sweet. But we have some spiders in this one. We've got 17 spiders, 5 instants, 2 sorceries, some artifacts and enchantments, 24 lands. So this is based around spiders and counters. Another creature deck because, you know, the creature decks in this one, it's hard playing hard control. Some people say, can you make a really hard control deck? I can make them, but so many good rare cards are in control that sometimes it makes it hard. Then you can build a deck and get, you know, it's the finishes that are always hard in that, but they can be found. But if, you know, some people want some more control decks, sort of let me know in the comments down below. So first one we're going to talk about is Zora Spider Fancy. There isn't actually a spider itself, but it's a 0/2, and when another creature enters, you gain life. But if it's a spider, put a 1/1 counter on it, which is why we do have 17 spiders in this deck as well. So let's take a look at some of them. We've got Wonderweave Aerialist, brilliant spider. Ward 2 for a 2-mana creature, has flying as long as it's modified, so we easily get that counter on it quickly. Then it becomes a 2/2 plus flyer, well 3/3 flyer with Ward 2. It's just a really powerful card. I love this as a common card and just works perfectly for this deck. I saw this one and this is the card that I kind of wanted to build around. So, which is why Wonderweave. I do have the upgraded style for it as well because it was the first one that I got from my little mastery things. I was like, need this one badly because I just love the card. Stillweb Surveyor, search for basic land. Good when you're playing these sort of budget decks because you're going to, you know, sometimes you do get stuck on lands. We've got 11 planes, so 16 basics, which is why I always say upgrade the lands first because, you know, sometimes you can just get mana screwed. You really can. Darvel and Web, so you may cast a spell for the 1 mana if you return a creature to your hand. Yeah, we can turn a Zora quite easily and then play it the same turn as well. It's only 1 mana this, but you're going to get a 3/3. Which is pretty decent. And, you know, we're pretty strong in the 3 mana spots here. The Tidal Spinner, return up to 1 target 9 permanents to hand. So it gives us that slight bit of control of returning something awkward from opponent and making them play again. This isn't a spider, but just too good with, you know, when you can put counters on stuff, a double striker that can't be blocked just has to be in the deck. It just really does have to be in the deck. Build this up as big as you can and just keep attacking is the idea of that. Just get Margot flying. You know what I mean? Just get it in there and just smash in heads. That's what you want to be doing. Now, some obviously said there is some cards that aren't spiders like Margot, but they work on theme with this deck. This can help put counters on stuff and return target creature card with value mana 2 or less, so we can go back and get a Wonderweave, which is an important card. Or maybe Zora if you want to, but, you know, maybe you're stuck on land. But, you know, this is ideally for recurring the Aerialist. But I have been using this couple of mainly when, you know, to put the counters on. The Bargain Spinner has flying during our turn. So 3/2, we can build this one up with the counters. And when it enters, you search low for an aura or equipment card. We'll be searching for our great removal if we need it in Shelter by Go. So it gives us a spider on theme with a deck, the potential flyer that can get bigger. And it helps us go get Sheltered by Ghost, which is just a supreme card. Kumonsu. When it enters, put a 1/1 counter creature. Modified creature you control deal damage. You get to draw a card. So put them counters on, keeping that card draw going because we only really have Unstable Experiment, and we have other ways like that to go and get card draw. This is the one that helps connive, which puts the counters on creatures, so we're reutilizing this card again. So it's good for a couple of decks, I find. And then just a couple at the top end of the Web Keepers. When this enters, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. So this is our, you know, at the end, we're trying to build up. We can't get through because we're maybe too small to be. And then we put this into play. All the spiders. We've got 17 in the deck. That's nearly a third of the deck is in there, and then they all get big, and hopefully the spiders go in for the win. Now, the sideboard of the cards that you can upgrade this with, there's a few nice ones here. I think the most helpful Weaver is a nice card because it creates a body, it does counters, gives something double strike. So a very, very good card for a 2-drop that can come into the deck. And then we have a Dimir. This is a spider for 3/2. Gains flying to end of turn, sack it, creatures you control. So this is a bit of our protection. So I would like probably a couple of these in there. And we would definitely, you know, at least want, you know, 2 of these, maybe 3 of these coming in there. We do have a few spells that potentially we got Requisition Raid. I do like that because of the Destroy an Artifact enchantment that really does help and it does counter. So I wouldn't like to get rid of that one. This one, possibly, although it is removal, it does counters and hexproof and destroy creature, but then you could potentially bring in Get Lost. It's just a mixture of, you know, potentially trying these out. If you've got some of these rares already in your collection, then trying them out and see if they're better than what I've put in there for the common and uncommon section. Then MACD, artifacts and creatures your opponents control enter tap. So this is a bit like Authority of the Councils for us, where it can make opponent stuff come in tapped, and it's a spider. So I feel like this will add to the controlling element of the deck, and I'd probably take out, you know, the Steel Web for these. Although that's nice, that goes in search of land, but if you're upgrading the lands, you won't need that so much. And MACD will definitely do a job and slow down opponents and give you that chance to build up your spiders. And then the last one is Dimir. Whenever spider you control enters, because you're adding in more spiders here. So Dimir then becomes a lot better than the 17 that we have, and you get to draw a card once each turn, but every time a spider enters, whenever a spider enters. So that just helps with the constant reel of card draw, extra cards each turn. So there's some very good spiders in the rare section that will make this deck stronger as well. But that has been 5 decks view. It was slightly bit longer because I was talking about upgrades. So I hope if you're here at the end, please let me know, and I really do appreciate that because it takes a lot more work. I had to delay this from Friday to actually see which cards are, work in the decks that I brewed together. So I appreciate all the likes in this, all the comments, and obviously subscribe now. This is an arena one, but if you want, you can get versions of these cards in paper, as we know, if you do want to build them. They're just different names from through the Omenpaths one. There are spiders, so you can get Spider-Man cards from my sponsors, Cardmarket. And if you feel like you love my work and you want to become a Total MTG Patreon, I appreciate it as well. Thank you to everyone that does. But you lot take care, and I'll see you on the next video.